everyone. Welcome to Deep Dives with Dogs. Well, today's topic is kind of talking about the build up to the early parts of the American Civil War. Um, Things that kind of show, yeah, this is going to happen sooner rather than later. Um, One of the fir- like first instances is really the splitting of where slave states can be and where they cannot be, the Missouri Compromise, where there's a line that says, hey, above this line, no slave states. Below this line, slave states. Um, it's kind of a method to appease both sides. It's like, hey, see, look, we can both have, we can have the anti-slavery, we can have the pro-slavery. It's all good, all good, all good. It really doesn't help. It just doesn't. Really, people were just like, oh, well, okay, we're gonna try to rush in and do things. There was quite a few instances of people rushing into new state territories to try to make them pro-slave, anti-slave. Because really how it is at this point, whenever the government adds new territories, they would add two territories at a time to offset that. So they had a pro-slavery and an anti-slavery state at the same time. So that, hey, look, it's a balanced system so that nobody felt like they were going to lose. However, eventually, obviously, anti-slavery people feel very not secure in their position. Of course, it kind of, once again, kind of leads to the Civil War. But um, still a few things up to that. There are these laws that are passed in favor of southern slave states. Um, and these laws more or less allow um, southern slave states to force northern states to comply with them in finding uh, a fugitive slave, as they would have called it. It's Fugitive Slave Acts. These make it so, like, for instance, if I'm from, let's say, Minnesota, it's not really a state yet, but we'll just give it as an option. If I'm from Minnesota, if somebody from South Carolina comes up and says, "Hey, I'm missing a slave, and you're gonna have to help me find it," I have to help them. If I'm like a police officer, that kind of thing. Many people in the North not very happy. They felt like this is kind of going against their sovereignty. Like, hey, we shouldn't have to help them. But it's just one of those rules. And once again, it builds the tension. Builds the tension. Um, Really, a lot of this comes to a head in what is the Bleeding Kansas incident. So, Bleeding Kansas is this more or less mini civil war that happens where Kansas, for popular, um, has like a popular rule. That was the idea. Like, oh, hey, you can fill it, and we'll decide, from there if it's a slave or free state. Um, and so both sides kind of rush in to Kansas, and eventually tensions get so high it starts leading to fighting. Um, there'll be instances of people going in that are pro-slavery and attacking a town. People that are anti-slavery, they'll go attack another town, and it's this whole event where Americans on both sides are killing each other. It's more or less a mini civil war, and it happens right before the Civil War. It's 1856 when Bleeding Kansas kind of takes place. A little bit before that, but not much. And it's mid 1850s, and that's right before the Civil War. And you can see how bad the tensions had got by that point through Bleeding Kansas. You really see how everyone is just kind of like, all right, we're willing to fight for this. And like the presidents at the time just didn't do anything. They just sat there and kind of twiddled their thumbs. You got James Buchanan who doesn't do anything. They didn't do anything. And it's really a failing of the leadership that all this even happens. None of this should have happened. There should have been more preventative measures or even something that could have worked better. A better leader would have led it through these crises. But we have a succession of presidents that are weak, are indecisive on the slavery question, and so then nothing gets done. And then it just boils over to the Civil War. The uh, um, the aggressive option, really. I'm trying to think of another word, but I don't think YouTube will like me to use that word. But the aggressive options, and that's not really what should have happened. There should have been leadership that took care of this in a proper way on both sides. That's not what happened, though. And then, obviously, the penultimate Civil War and the fate of slavery in the United States is finally answered. But that's going to do it for this video. If you guys liked the video, leave a like. If you have any ways I can improve these videos, leave a comment down below. I always appreciate your feedback. And as always, subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Thank you.